GYASI, I cannot escape the question that I'm asking you, and that is, but when is public consensus reach its threshold? And I read your column. I encourage readers to go to deadspin.com and read your column, because even in your column, you talk about the fact that your son, watching a game between the Redskins and the Eagles, when you were rooting for the Eagles, instinctually rooted for the Redskins, right? And many Indians take pride in the term. So the point is, many are not offended. Some are. Who wins?
I think that's a fair statement. I think that's an absolutely fair statement that there are those. I can't say many, but I can say there's definitely those, and based upon my own article and my own conversations, anecdotal evidence that says that there are definitely natives, including my son, including me when I was a little kid, who support and find affinity with the name and the symbol. And that's cool. But that's part of that internal discussion. And me as a parent, I feel obligated then to have a conversation to unpack the history of the word and the symbol with my son. That's my duty, in the same way that the black community, Bill Cosby has a lot of conversations about unpacking the word and the historical animus, the racial animus that goes along with that word.
Right.
And what the interesting part about that is that it's always, almost unilaterally, black people who are having that conversation, and God bless them. They should have that conversation. It's an internal conversation. And similarly, it shouldn't be superimposed upon us that since 2 or 3 or 20 or whatever the number is, an arbitrary number, appreciate and are not offended by the word Redskins, that it somehow becomes less than an internal discussion. Essentially, the point of my article and my position is, give us the same treatment that you give black folks with the word or Chinese people with the word, that we have the opportunity and the authority to dictate when this word internally has value to us.
You wrote a story in this book, and it's a marvelous book, by the way.
Thank you very much.
About a college student who had an argument with his professor, who claimed to be part Indian.
Yes.
And the student was full-on Indian,
right.
Native American, if I may. And the story ended somewhat tragically, and yet there was some hope there for Native American young men.
Mm-hmm. And things, you know, it goes back to that financial structure. Oftentimes men, just in general, as a trait, we have that machismo where we want to speak for ourselves. And where other people speak for us, when they feel, you know, we're caused to feel disempowered, like our voice isn't valued. And this whole process, writing a book, putting myself up here, and thank you very much for hosting me, I really appreciate it, is about getting our voice back, incrementally, step by step, learning that our voice is valuable.
All right. All I want to say is find this young man, find this young lawyer, read the book, and you will be empowered. And it's about finding that strength.
Yes, sir.
And you'll be where? Tell me quickly.
At the Two Eyes Gallery tonight, I think at 5 o'clock, 5 p.m., as well as Revolution Books on Sunday, which I believe is at 3 p.m. And they'll be reading. It'll be fun. There'll be food. We'll hang out. It'll be a good time. I'll sing off key. We'll have a good time. Maybe do the electric slide. You know, we'll have a good time.
If it's singing off key, Jai and I will both be there.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
I really appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure.
The Sovereignty Project, these are teaching about treaty obligations, right? Treaties are all about faith. Treaties are all about blind faith. So what I mean by that is this. 1855, when my people signed their treaty, there's a decreasing amount of us. Almost all of us are dead, comparatively speaking. But our elders, our people who are entrusted with our safety, they meet with Governor Isaac Stevens. And they say, Governor Isaac Stevens, we don't really trust you. You're a white guy. And moreover, you're a white guy that comes on behalf of the government. You guys have lied to us for a very long time. Many, many, many times. But because I believe that my children and my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren might have a possibility for this investment, for this hope, this prayer to vest with them, and that you might actually honor this promise. I'm going to sign this treaty, sight unseen, Keep in mind, in the year 1900, there was only 250,000 of us. We're looking like we're going the way of the dodo. We're going to be, you might not even have to honor this treaty because we're going to be gone. But we're going to sign this with the hope, with the belief that you are going to honor this and that my great-great-grandchildren are going to be able to benefit and have a piece of our homelands as a result of this act of faith, this step of faith that I'm taking right now. I went through large periods, reservation life, right? My dad, my biological father died of a drug overdose. My mom, she's struggled with addiction her whole life. And they kind of lost, I guess, the ability to correct me. And I didn't really have anybody that was fit that position other than my paternal grandpa. He was the last person who, if he said something to me, if he told me to jump, I'm going to say how high. And, now I think about it in hindsight, I get really scared. Like, man, there was a lot of opportunities to really, really screw up, to really, really be in a bad position because I had nobody I had to listen to. And so a lot of these mentorship ideas that I see are things that I wish that somebody had or somebody would tell me now. I wish somebody had the audacity to do these things, even as a grown man, to put me in my place. And so I think that there's never a position, there's never a place where you run out of a need for somebody to give you a stern talking to, as long as it's done with love. Once again, love is the underlying basis for all this. And I don't think you ever outgrow that. My grandpa, it didn't matter that he was a tiny guy. It had nothing to do with size. It had nothing to do with age. It had everything to do with his willingness just to be honest. And so that honesty part about it, that as a parent to a child, once again, I think of the root of it, from Odysseus, given that obligation to mentor, to talk to Telemachus. How would you talk to your child in this situation? Sometimes those conversations suck. My little brother, who's 13 years younger than me, I have to have conversations with him that I don't want to have. I've had to talk to him about he's had different, he's a kid. He's had different, goofy periods in his life. And I have to make it a point to, we're going to have this conversation and we're going to sit here and we're going to be really, really uncomfortable. And I don't think you ever outgrow that.
I've been an uncle since I was 12 years old. My first niece, my beautiful baby girl named Veronica, was born. When she was born, I realized what love was about. It's the first time in my life I realized what love was about. And then later on that same year, my little brother Sutta was born, Sutta Gyayo. And then now I'm a father. I have 13 nieces and nephews, but I'm also a father, and I understand what love is about. And the reason why I bring that up here is because people call it bad stuff, those things. But when my niece Veronica was born, I realized that everything about her, that was the first time in my life I realized that I loved everything about somebody. She could giggle and it was cute. She could move her arms slightly and it was cute. She also, it was strange. I realized that whenever she farted, I thought it was the cutest thing in the world. And a lot of people would say, those things that's kind of nasty. It's an imperfection. People should hide that and stuff. But I think that a lot of times in any given person, that's the thing that makes them most lovable. That's the thing that only you know about, because people aren't going to fart around people they don't trust or know. So a lot of these stories I feel like are what people would say as imperfections or bad things. They're just kind of our little baby farts. They're kind of Indian farts, and because of that I embrace them because it's a part of us. Those are, those bad things are just as much a part of us as the quote-unquote good things.
I think that the Redskins logo is a very nice, elegant logo. I've always thought their logo was nice. Now, granted, he's red, but we also have the Chicago Blackhawks, and I like their logo as well. My question to you is this. If they changed the name, kept the logo, and changed it to the Washington Natives, would that be acceptable?
I think that's a great question.
And, obviously I can't speak for everybody, but I would love that. I think that would be perfectly befitting. I think the logo itself is a handsome logo. That's somebody, I come from a good-looking family. That could be my uncle.
And what an exciting day it has been with the inauguration and the festivities this evening. How does it feel to be in D.C. on such an important day and to be at this inaugural ball?
It feels a couple ways. First of all, it feels, you can't help but to get caught up in the euphoria and people being nice. Literally millions of people on the subway being nice to each other, and they're saying excuse me because everybody's caught up in the energy. And it's a crowning achievement for those of us who worked on the Obama campaign. And it's also a crowning achievement because you see Native people dressed very nice and put in a position of strength and put in a position of self-empowerment and self-determination and autonomy. And that's really cool to see. Also, on a more pragmatic, cynical level, you also realize that in spite of all the pomp and circumstance, all the beauty that you see today, we have a lot of work to do as a nation. We realize that we have a really deep fiscal problem. We have all these issues to deal with. I'm not responsive too well to emails. That's why Bao had that fucked up bio. Because that was the bio back when I was trying to get a job. Yeah. Then I decided, well, I'm just gonna work for myself. And I don't know why that's still on the internet, but whatever, it's a moment in time, it's a Polaroid, right? I just came from a place called Gathering of Nations Powwow. It's a huge powwow. And it's a really cool spectacle. It's a spectacle because there's about 50,000 people, 50,000 natives, and then there's a whole bunch of white folks that want to come and see the natives act native, and so the natives act super native, more native than they... On a regular basis, we're not dressing like that shit.